The swing set stood still. A single swing swayed slightly, a lonely pendulum counting down the seconds. Mary's heart pounded against her ribs, a frantic drum in the silence of the afternoon. She called out again, her voice cracking, "Billy? Billy, where are you?" Only the birds answered back, their cheerful songs now a mocking chorus. The laughter, the playful shrieks that had filled her backyard just moments ago were gone, replaced by a chilling stillness. The lemonade, poured and waiting on the porch table, seemed to mock her with its sweetness. She checked behind the oak tree, its ancient branches casting long, skeletal fingers across the lawn. Emptiness, panic, cold and sharp, began to claw its way up her throat. She ran to the front yard, scanning the street. The phone felt slick with sweat as she dialed, her fingers clumsy. The ringing on the other end stretched into an eternity before a voice, calm and reassuring, answered. 911, what's your emergency? The words tumbled out, fragmented and panicked. My son Billy, gone! Backyard, please! The voice on the other end took control, calm and efficient, extracting information. Her name, her address, a description of Billy. 6 years old, bright red shirt, denim shorts, brown hair, brown eyes. Minutes crawled by, each one an agonizing eternity. 2 police cars arrived, sirens wailing, red and blue lights painting the street in strobing flashes. The search began immediately, a flurry of activity in the once peaceful neighborhood. Officers spread out, searching yards, knocking on doors, their voices a constant murmur in the growing darkness. The setting sun cast long, eerie shadows, twisting familiar shapes into menacing figures. Fear was a tangible presence now, hanging heavy in the air. Neighbors gathered, their faces etched with concern, their voices hushed as they exchanged worried glances. They held flashlights, their beams dancing across lawns, illuminating bushes and fences. But Billy remained lost in the growing darkness. The whispers started subtly, carried on the wind that rustled through the trees. Strange things happen in these woods. Never found her, disappeared without a trace. The woods were dark, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves. The beam of her flashlight danced ahead of her, illuminating the path, but doing little to penetrate the oppressive darkness that seemed to press in from all sides. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig sent shivers down her spine. She called out for Billy, her voice hoarse, the sound swallowed up by the woods. The search party, their faces grim in the flickering light of their flashlights, moved like silent ghosts through the trees. Each fallen log, each shadowy hollow sent a jolt of fear through her. Was he hiding? Was he hurt? Was he... A sudden cry, sharp and high-pitched, cut through the silence. Mary whirled around, her heart leaping into her throat. One of the officers was pointing to the ground, his face pale in the beam of his flashlight. On the ground, nestled amongst the leaves, lay a small red shoe. The woods were alive with activity now, the silence shattered by the sound of walkie-talkies crackling and the urgent shouts of the search party. More officers arrived, their faces grim, their movements efficient as they cordoned off the area where the shoe had been found. They moved with a practiced urgency that spoke of too many missing children, too many searches that ended in heartbreak. A sense of unreality washed over Mary. This couldn't be happening. Not Billy, not her little boy. She watched as a police dog, its head held low, sniffed at the ground where the shoe had been found. It whined, a low, mournful sound, and then it was gone, disappearing into the woods, following a scent only it could detect. Hours crawled by, each one stretching into an eternity. The initial hope, the desperate belief that they would find Billy hiding under a bush or behind a tree, had dwindled to a tiny flicker. The darkness was closing in, both literally and figuratively. The officers moved cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the darkness of the fort's interior. There was a palpable sense of dread, a shared holding of breath as they waited for what they might find. Mary stood just outside the entrance, her hand pressed against her mouth, her eyes wide with a mixture of terror and desperate hope. The air inside the fort was stale, heavy with the scent of damp earth and something else, something unfamiliar and unsettling. The officers moved slowly, their voices hushed as they examined the small space. Empty soda cans and candy wrappers littered the ground, remnants of a child's secret hideaway. But there was something else, too. Scratched into the earthen floor, barely visible in the dim light, was a single word: help. The letters were crudely formed, as if etched with a stick or a small fingernail. Mary's blood ran cold. This wasn't a game. Billy hadn't simply wandered off. Days bled into nights, each one a torturous cycle of hope and despair. The search for Billy continued, but the trail was growing colder with each passing hour. The police, though sympathetic, were losing hope. Missing children cases were always difficult, but the odds of finding a child alive diminished with each passing day. Mary refused to give up. She plastered missing posters everywhere she could, her heart breaking a little more with each one she hung. She haunted the police station, demanding updates, clinging to any shred of information, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem. She walked the streets, searched the woods, called out Billy's name until her voice was hoarse, her throat raw with unshed tears. The whispers had turned into accusations, veiled but no less hurtful. Neighbors, once supportive, now averted their eyes, their murmurs following her like shadows. Years have passed. The seasons have turned, painting the trees in hues of gold and crimson, then stripping them bare, only to clothe them again in vibrant green. But the empty swing set remains, a constant reminder of the day Billy disappeared. Mary still wakes up every morning with a jolt, the echo of that day's horror clinging to her like a shroud. The police investigation officially went cold years ago. The leads exhausted, the case files gathering dust on a shelf somewhere. But for Mary, the search never ended. She still sees Billy's face in every crowd, hears his laughter in the wind, feels his small hand slip into hers on crowded streets. Hope, though battered and bruised, still flickers within her. The woods at the edge of the neighborhood remain, a silent and watchful presence. They hold their secrets close, the wind whispering through the trees, carrying with it the echoes of that summer day.